You have finished worksheets 1 to 3 and completed your weekly spending patterns. We will now move on to worksheet 4, where we will complete your monthly income and expense statement by including where you receive your income or your sources of funds from. For example, your monthly salary as well as the transport allowance that you receive from home, which you mentioned in our previous call. We will also be including your monthly payments and expenses like your transport, your clothes, and food. Firstly, you can see at the top of the table is the income portion. This is where you put in your salary and the transport allowance that you receive from home and any other sources of income that you may have. Below income, you have the different types of expenses. Do note that for expenses, you need to indicate the respective amount under needs and wants, which we have learned about in our previous call. For every expense, there can be values for both needs and wants at the same time, and I will share more examples about this later on. We can start off with fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are the amount of money which you spend, which are the same or almost the same every month. Some examples would include remittance. Here you can write down the amount of money you send back to the Philippines every month. You mentioned that you send back 1,000 pesos for your mother back in the Philippines, so this is your remittance. Loan repayments is basically for when you borrow money from, for example, the bank, and you pay them back over a period of time, and the amount of repayment that you make every month is your monthly loan repayments. If you also purchase insurance, you can write that under your fixed expenses as well. Below that, we have variable expenses. Unlike fixed expenses, variable expenses are subjected to change every month, and they are not a fixed amount because sometimes you may not need to buy the same thing every month, or you just spend different amounts for it every month depending on the situation. Firstly, under variable expenses is food. Food can be both needs and wants. Food that are required for basic survival are your needs like your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. But snacks or cravings are considered wants because you don't need them to survive. For clothing as well, clothes that are branded are considered wants, while your everyday clothes are considered needs. Personal maintenance is like self-care, which includes shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, or body wash. Makeup is also considered a personal maintenance expense, but it will be classified as a want instead of a need. Telecommunication is your phone top-up card, which you mentioned you do a top-up every 6 months. You will incur health and medical expenses when you pay money to see the doctor or when you buy medicine. Transport expenses are like bus fares, MRT fares, or taxi fares. Leisure and entertainment will include your monthly karaoke sessions and other expenses for entertainment purposes. Hobbies and sports will include, for example, if you like to play badminton and you buy a badminton racket. When you go overseas, you will incur traveling expenses. Utilities expenses are when you pay your electrical bills, your water bills. Donations or charities is when you donate your money or your items to other people. So after you write down your expenses for the month, you can add up the needs and wants and write them in this column H. So for example, if you spend $20 on food, which I need, and $10 for wants under food, you add them together, $30, and write them under H. After you do that for the entire column H, you can do a subtotal for this entire table. So you can do a subtotal for income first, and then you write them under J, and then fixed expenses under K, variable expenses under L, and at the end you can take J minus K minus L, and you'll reach your surplus or your deficit. Having a surplus is good, but if you have a deficit, it means you're spending more money than you earn, which is bad because not only do you have not enough savings, but you also may take up a loan in order to cover for your expenses.
Mavis, and today I'll be talking about savings action plan. So, in this section, you will assess on what you can do further to improve your net income position and ensure that you still have money after spending all your expenses, such as buying clothes, shampoo, or paying off your telephone bills. So, if your income is more than your expense from this worksheet 4, it shows a net income, which means it's a surplus, which means that it is a good progress. So you're doing great. However, if this shows a net expense position, which means that it will state deficit here, it means that you might not be doing very well and you are spending more than you earn. Yeah. So in order to increase your net asset position or to increase your net income position, you can identify the expenses that you can cut down, like maybe buying fewer clothes or maybe cutting down on what you want to eat. Yeah. And then you can find out how much you can save from like cutting down the expenses. Yeah. And then you can will ask you to identify the available time and opportunities to earn additional income, like such as doing arts and crafts and selling them to your friends or like to the public. Yeah, so let's move on to this worksheet 5 here. As you can see, there are a few examples here where you can refer to. Looking at the first example, we have telecommunication, which means it's like your phone prepaid card or your postpaid card. So under this column of idea, it states to cancel mobile broadband, use phone cards to call home and Wi-Fi connection. So in this case, it might not apply to you because you mentioned that you only buy your phone cards like every 6 months and you always use the Wi-Fi connection to call your family or to call other people. So that's very good. And then this action plan right here, this column, you will state what you will actually do to achieve this idea here. So in this idea, you said you want to, the example states that they want to cancel mobile broadband and use the Wi-Fi instead. So the action will be visit Singtel or like StarHub, whatever you have bought your cards from. Then you will just go to that center to cancel the subscription. So in this column, by when, so this will show you like when you should achieve this action plan. Like, okay, in this example here, it states 31st May. So maybe a few days, like 31st May, you will actually go to Singtel and cancel the subscription. And then for the last column, it states the additional savings per month. So this states like, okay, what if you have cancelled the mobile broadband? How much more can you save from it? Yeah. How much can you cut from your expenses? Then I'll move on to another example to let you understand even better. So from the second row here, you can see it's other income. So under this, like this section will just teach you on how to increase your income and also cut down your expenses. So for your other income, okay, look at this idea here. For example, baking Indonesian kueh for neighbors during CNY, which is Chinese New Year. So the action plan will be confirm orders from your neighbors. So by doing this action, you can actually see how many orders you have to make, so you won't waste any money or efforts by doing like you will overcook or anything. So by when December 20 you confirm their orders, then the next year Chinese New Year you can actually do it and not have any leftovers. So how many savings do you save per month? You can just write it down. So that is all. So after you have listed down all the income or expenses that you can expenses that you can cut or income that you can earn, then you can add everything up here to arrive at this amount here, and then you will input this amount to worksheet 6. Yep, that's all.
Okay, so now let us move on to personal budgeting. A budget is a spending plan in which a fixed amount is allocated for different spending needs and is useful for monitoring or tracking your expenses, which are the things that you spend on. In this segment, you will actually have to develop a monthly budget based on your financial goals that is stated in worksheet 1, page 7, which is maybe to start a bakery in 5 years' time. You will also have to include your current monthly expenditure, like your monthly income and your monthly spendings, the expenses, from worksheet 4, page 10. Savings action plan from worksheet 5, page 11, which is maybe to increase your income by having investment on other things, or to reduce your expenses, maybe to cut down on the number of times you buy McDonald's. So, include all income that you can count on like your basic wage or salary that you receive from your employer. Do not include any income that you're not sure whether you'll receive it or not, like bonuses, as it will actually affect your spending or repayment of debts. Include all the expenses like debts, transportation, utilities, food, necessities, and even the financial support that you give to your elderly parents, husband, or children, as well as the occasional shopping and outings and the financial goals that you have written in Worksheet 1. Expenses include your payments of insurance plans and also the investments since they are payments. If your expenses that you stated above are incurred annually, divide them by the annual amount by 12. Like for example, if your prepaid phone number is actually top up every 3 months, divide the amount $10 divided by 3 months, you get $3.33, which is the amount that you pay every month to top up your prepaid phone number. So if you have actually a budget surplus, right, then means your income is more than your expenses, which is a good thing, since you actually have an opportunity to pay off any debt or to add on to your savings. You can also be more aggressive in your goals in Worksheet 1. You can add another goal or you can reduce on the number of months to achieve your goals. However, if you have a monthly budget deficit, right, that means your income is less than your expenses, your budget is flawed, it is not sustainable, it is not good at all. You must make adjustments so that you will not have a deficit, as it will actually lead to financial failure. That means you have not enough money. So maybe in Worksheet 1, right, your goals are too unrealistic and aggressive. Maybe you have too many goals, so you have to actually give up some and focus on the rest. Or it could also be maybe the time is too short. So try and extend the time period, maybe to open a bakery in 10 years instead of 5 years. Review them. By increasing your time period, you can reduce on your monthly savings requirements. You can also review Worksheet 5, your savings session plan, to see what are the other opportunities that you can to increase your income or to reduce on expenses. Monitor your budget regularly and see if you're on track. Adjust the budget if you have to, like maybe a pay raise or a pay cut or a new addition to your family. Make sure you look at it regularly and update it when you're free. So now we'll move on to worksheet 6, your monthly budget. So income, you'll have your salary, maybe investment on other things, and also like maybe your sales of your bakeries. Expenses, you have a fixed expense, which is the fixed amount that you have to spend, the amount that you spend that won't actually change. So maybe like savings from worksheet 1, maybe to open a bakery in 5 years time. Remittance, the money that you send back to another person, maybe your mother, husband, or children. Loan repayments, insurance. These are the amounts that won't change. Variable expense like food, McDonald's, clothing, personal maintenance for your soap or shampoo, telecommunication like prepaid top-up, health and medical, maybe to see a doctor, transport, the bus or train to go to your school, entertainment for karaoke or for movie, hobbies and sports, maybe the ingredients for baking, traveling, maybe to go overseas with your family members during the holiday, or even the utilities, the water and electricity that you have paid. If you have more fixed expense or variable expense, do include them inside. And then you get your income minus your expenses, you get a surplus or deficit. So then you go on to write down the amount for as per worksheet 4. So this will not be changed. You just have to refer and include them inside here, your monthly income and expense. And for this column, which is for worksheet as per referred to worksheet 5, you take into account of any savings action plan that you've written. So like maybe you want to reduce on the McDonald's, you reduce by like $10 every month. So maybe in the past you're actually spending $20, but now you, as per your savings action plan, you want to reduce by $10. So you get 20 minus 10, you have 10. So then after that, you also have to do the same thing. Income and expense stability is calculated. If it's income more than expense, it is a surplus. Less the expense, it is a deficit. Not a good thing. You have to look into worksheet 1, 4, and 5 and actually look into what are the things that you can actually make amendments to. So once you're done, that's it. That's all for workshop 2. So yeah,